Whether you're picking and grinning or just grinning, grab a drink, pull up a seat. It's time for Roots Music Rambler. Turn it up. So, have you been following the latest Ryan Adams sagas?
Not all that closely. I know he was posting some shit not that long ago, and was he in Australia and he like left the stage during a couple different shows?
Yeah.
Right, because he was like, I don't know. The little bit of information that I gathered seemed to me like he was kind of having a tantrum.
Mhm.
And I could be wrong on that, but I'm not sure. But I was reading, was it one of the social medias? So I don't know if it was Facebook or Threads. Ryan Adams posted some off the wall shit, and somebody commented and said, someone needs to take his phone away. And I like, that was the best comment ever. And then I don't know. I don't know if anything has happened since then. So has there been a new development?
Well, the big thing is really the show in Melbourne, Australia, last month in October, where the reports are that he ended the show prematurely, called his own performance shit, and basically walked off the stage. But then he posted social media things that have since been taken down, where he basically just trashed Australians and said, I'm never coming back to this country, blah, 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 whatever. So he had a meltdown again, and that's not unusual for Ryan Adams. Those people who have followed him for years know that if he's, either off his meds, or if he's using / abusing again, or, he's overly tired at toward the end of a long tour, these things tend to happen. Unfortunately, the people that I know who are huge Ryan Adams fans in my life, like my girlfriend Karen, have started, and my friend Mark Murdoch have started to say, hey, what do you think's going on here? And I mean, it's irresponsible of us to report anything because we're not reporters, we're not journalists, and we don't know what's going on. But if you go into the Reddit threads and the other places where people talk about these things, a lot of people are making assumptions that he's using again, and or his medications are off balance, but he's also at the end of a very, very long tour for him. He's been on the road for a long time, and this is normally when he gets tired and stuff like this happens. So it could just be, he's got a couple of conditions. He has ocular seizures sometimes, which are, triggered by flashes and things like that. So he's really strict about making sure people aren't using flashes at his shows, and he can freak out if you do. He also has the, I always say it wrong, Meniere's disease, the inner ear imbalance that causes him to be dizzy and things like that. So he's canceled shows because of that before. So he's got a lot of issues. Unfortunately, it seems that the outbursts and whatnot are popping up more frequently here lately. And so my take on it has been, this is not unusual for him, and I hope he takes some time off and gets his shit together. I hope certainly he's not using again. And if he is, I hope he gets help. So, that's what I'd like to see for him to get healthy and forget about shows and albums and books and social medias for a while and just get better, because I think the world's a better place with him in it, even though he's had some ups and downs and troubles with women and all that kind of stuff. I like his music. So there you
go. You said it. Yes. I hope he gets help too, if that's turns out that's what he needs. I feel like if this had never happened before, then it might be a little bit easier to digest. But because he's had such outbursts in the past, and all that other stuff that he's been involved in, with the accusations against him and stuff, it's like, dude, just stop, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of making an ass of himself again, and I we've talked about Ryan Adams a bunch of times. We've talked about Whiskey Town. They were one of my all-time favorite bands, until he started just being stupid. And it was hard for me to listen to the music. It didn't mean the same to me anymore. Um, so, I mean, I won't take away the fact that he's a great songwriter and anything like that, but yeah, we just got to hope for the best for him, and maybe that someone does take his phone.
Sure. Yeah. Taking his phone would probably be priority number one right now. Don't make it
Right.
worse. Let's get that out of his hands. At any rate, welcome to Roots Music Rambler. She's Frank.
And he's Falls.
And we're rambling on through the stories behind the music we love.
And today on the show, we're visiting with Kentucky singer-songwriter Taylor Lansdale. So he has been called an Appalachian love child of Jason Isbell and Ryan Adams. Oh, look, there we go, Ryan Adams, by fellow singer-songwriter and music journalist Brett Noland. So that tells you a little something.
Indeed, it does. Taylor's from Mount Sterling, Kentucky. He currently lives in Lexington. But his songwriting career started just a few years ago when he was looking for something to kind of clean out the stress of his life and get rid of all the stuff that can tangle your brain and make you do dumb Ryan Adams like shit, right? So he was a new father. He was burned out by a very hard job that we'll touch on here in a minute. And kind of all of this happened, picking up the guitar, writing songs, singing songs, all of it kind of happened around the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Which, we all got a little... out of sorts at that time. But the job that Falls just referred to, he was a lawyer. Okay. Taylor was a lawyer, not just any lawyer. He was a public defender in Montgomery County, Kentucky. And as a law school dropout, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. It's got to weigh on you to go to work every day knowing that you're about to meet a new client who is probably having a low point in their lives, may or may not be guilty of a crime, and you have to help them. So it's definitely a career that is not for the faint of heart.
No, not at all. But fortunately for us, Taylor left the legal world and he now works for a nonprofit, and he has channeled his angst and anxieties into music, and that music is so very good.
It is. He released a single called Moorhead, Kentucky, and saw some good responses right out of the gate. He has since gone on to record a number of singles. Then this year dropped Headlong, his first studio album. It features a full version of the song Moorhead, Kentucky, as well as a gem called Ashes I like a lot. He also has a 3-song EP or streaming packet that came out after the album with another couple of great songs that really kind of deliver on that Isbell Adams love child thing. Like he is a really good songwriter. I grabbed him recently to chat. Frank was unfortunately not able to join us, but we had a really fun conversation and excited about sharing that with you today.
Yes, and I'd make more of these interviews if you weren't so damn impatient.
Yeah, I know it's my fault, but I'll try to do better. I actually interviewed him to be a featured artist spot on my radio program, Appalachian Echoes, and just thought, well, damn, I should just record video too and use this on the podcast. So that's my excuse.
Okay. Well, it's fine. I'm glad y'all got to bro it up.
Nice. Well, since I'm impatient, let's take a quick break to hear from the fine sponsors that help make this show happen. When we come back, we'll catch up with Taylor Lansdale. This is Roots Music Rambler.
The Who's down in Who Newville were making their list, but some didn't know Walmart has the best brands for their gifts.
What about toys? Do they have brands kids have been wanting all year?
Yep, Barbie, Tony's, and Lego. Gifts that will make them all cheer.
Do you mean they have all the brands I adore?
They have Nintendo, Nespresso, Apple, and more.
What about...
So the Who answered questions from friends till they were blue. Each one listened and shouted, from Walmart? Who knew? Shop gifts from top brands for everyone on your list in the Walmart app.
All right, listen up, nacho chips. Quiet down, crispy potatoes. This is the moment Velveeta's been preparing you for, and you're not about to crack under pressure. Today's the day to go all in on the drip. Velveeta's Heat and Eat Queso is the MVP of any game day spread, so stick by them, and you'll be golden. Now get out there and make delicious history. No tailgate party is complete without Velveeta.
Daffodils and sleeping pills give that side. It's tattooed on her face. Silver screen beauty.
Welcome back to Roots Music Rambler. That song is called Daffodils and Sleeping Pills, one of my favorite tunes from Kentucky singer-songwriter Taylor Lansdale, who joins us on the program today. Taylor, how are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad to have you. Been trying to get you schedules aligned, and more my schedule than yours for the last couple of months, trying to get you on here. But and I was really tickled that we got to run into each other at Bourbon and Beyond. That was cool to meet you and your lovely wife. So kind of fun to cross paths there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it seems, based on what I can tell anyway, it seems like you and I have very similar tastes. So it's not much of a surprise, I guess, that we ran into each other. But yeah, man, it was really good to see you.
That's true. You've got the good beard too. You almost look like maybe you could be my kid. I know I'm way older than you, but you have a hell of a lot more talent than I do. But
I don't know that that's true, but I appreciate you saying that.
Well,
I appreciate you saying
I can't play spoons, so there's a degree of difficulty there for me. But anyway, so let me ask you really quickly about Daffodils and Sleeping Pills, because I really, that song, when I first heard it, it just kind of grabbed me, and I was like, this not only has a really good melody and really good lyrics and whatnot, it just sounds good. It seems to me like a Girl Gone Wrong song. Is that kind of where you were shooting with that?
It is. Yeah. I mean, it's essentially, it's kind of the story of a young lady and kind of how she ended up in the profession of an exotic dancer, and the narrator kind of falling for her, which might be a little tropey, I guess, but based partially in real life. I was a public defender for a while, and so there are a couple characters that lady kind of comes from, and I can tell you that's not my wife's favorite song. It's actually maybe her least favorite song that I've ever done.
Well, yeah. My next question was going to be, I'm assuming you don't base all these stories on your actual autobiographical tale, because I've met your wife, and I'm fairly certain that this isn't about her.
No. She, to my knowledge, she's never gone down that road. But no, I mean, that was one of those where the character kind of took me where she wanted to go that evening. And that was one that got written pretty quickly, like an hour is what it took to write that one. So I'm real pleased with that one. We of the three songs I just put out, that was the one that we spent the most time on in terms of making it work with all the accompaniment. And there are like 4 different versions out there, but I'm glad with kind of how we landed on it. I was trying to sound a little drive-by truckers.
Yep.
But then it turns out I'm a little too soft to sound too drive-by truckers. And so we had to dial it in a little bit, and it ended up where it is. And I'm real happy with it.
Well, I love it. It sounds great. And I've played that a couple of times on the various radio shows and gotten good response to it as well. So you mentioned in there that you were a public defender once upon a time. I know you're working at a nonprofit now, but tell us a little bit about that. I mean, what you're telling me is you're a damn lawyer.
Oh, the worst. Yeah. I was one of those folks who went, and I'm going to age myself a little bit, but I was one of those folks who went to school right during the recession. And I actually went to Western to do broadcast journalism. I wanted to be the next Stuart Scott, rest in peace. And, that didn't pan out. And so I think I had something like 6 or 7 different majors, creative writing being one of them. And so I figured, crap, if I can go to school and at least delay getting into the job market, I should. So I did. And jokes aside, I was really happy. I was a public defender in Mount Sterling, which is where I grew up, and owe that place a great debt. That town has always been good to me. And so I did it, and I, it's the most fun that I never, ever want to have again. Learned a lot though in the process. And a lot of my songs are kind of fed by it.
Yeah.
In one way or another.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of stories you can pull from that experience. So are you no longer practicing law, or are you in a legal capacity for this nonprofit you're working for?
No, I just kind of sit around and do paperwork, just kind of fly a desk, and I'm real happy for that. Like that job took a toll on me.
Yeah.
you never. The thing about that work, and I'm grateful for it, but is that you never saw anybody on their best day. In fact, it was always their worst day usually.
Yeah.
And so, and particularly doing it where I grew up, where it was a lot of my friends and, some that you might have expected to end up needing my help and some that you might not have. And so it took a toll that I'm still trying to shake off in a lot of ways. So I'm happy to just fly a desk and hopefully this music thing will replace that before too long. So,
well, I, for one, am thankful for at least one public defender, because otherwise I would have spent more than one night in jail. So I appreciate you guys. That's good stuff. Fun times. This isn't about me though. Let's get back to your music.
Oh no.
So you grew up in Mount Sterling, Kentucky. For the people out there who don't know, Mount Sterling is probably about 25 or 30 minutes or so east of Lexington, up in northeast Kentucky, near, probably halfway to Moorhead, which is halfway to Huntington if you're going east from Lexington.
That's right.
And Mount Sterling's a great little town. I've been to Court Days and a couple other things there over the years. But tell us a little bit about growing up there and how that impacts your singing, your songwriting.
So I think my journey to Mount Sterling was interesting. I've never met my real dad, or my biological dad, but the guy that I call my dad, who came into my life when I was 5. That's his hometown, and so I moved back there and with him when I guess I was in like the 3rd or 4th grade, and spent the rest of my childhood there, and I love it. I mean, Mount Sterling's an interesting place in that you get what I think of as like pure Appalachian culture, right? Particularly when you get out to like Jeffersonville and Camargo, which is in Montgomery County. But then you get kind of the Lexington suburban commuter money families too. And so in some ways, I think that kind of comes through in my music in some way. I love all the true Appalachian like country artists out there, and I certainly emulate them in some ways, but I was also super into punk rock, and Incubus was my first band that I ever went crazy over, and so I that sense of in betweenness, that like interstate towns somewhere between Lexington and Moorhead, I think comes through and feeds the music in terms of the way things turn out.
Yeah, that's I can certainly hear that. And I mean, you've been compared. I can't remember Brett Nolan, I think it was, who called you the Appalachian love child of Jason Isbell and Ryan Adams, which is A, high praise,
truly,
but B, listening to some of your music, it's like, yeah, he's got that sort of. There's a couple songs out there that have that really kind of rock edge, but kind of a country substance, and then you've got these ballads that are singer-songwriter, just picking your guitar, that are kind of the magic of Ryan Adams's live shows and some of Jason Isbell's greatest work. So when you first heard that, what was your reaction to that quote?
It floored me, and Brett himself is a heck of a singer and songwriter too. And so I just got to see him play the other night. And so I should say that I hope I don't have the personal life issues that both of those gentlemen have had.
Yeah, let's hope not.
I'm pretty happy to be a boring dad of 2. But no, I mean that was huge for me, right? Because I think it's hard for me to think of a better lyricist than Jason Isbell. Like in terms of someone who can. I think of a song like Elephant, where he can take you into a very specific situation that you've probably never lived and make you believe you're there and feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm just scratching the surface, and I think my best songs are ahead of me, but if I can ever approach something like that. And then, Ryan Adams, going back to, the early days of kind of the alt country Americana thing. So, I was thrilled, though. I think I'm like a Great Value or Kirkland version of both of those. If you know,
I love it. I'm a marketing guy, so when you throw Kirkland out there, I know exactly what you're talking about. I hope other people do too. I think you probably got a little bit more value than Kirkland, but actually one thing that reminds me of when you were talking about that. The one song that, as I was kind of going through your catalog, I've gone through it a couple times now over the last couple months, but I was listening to it again today just to kind of refresh my memory on some of your songs. But you've got a song, I believe it's called "Get On With It," and that song to me, like, the end of the second, verse, and I'm like, this sounds like an Isbell song. Like that's where I could see where Brett would get that, because you've got this way of telling a story that's really, you can feel it. Like at 2 lines into that song, and I'm like, oh shit, this is heavy. Like I can feel this. This is going to hurt in a minute. Tell me a little bit more about that song, because for some reason it just kind of caught my attention.
Well, so, thank you for paying attention. That song is stolen from a friend of mine who went through a rough one. And what I'm trying to convey there, well, I mean, to draw, I guess, the opposite. Like I grew up with a band called Dashboard Confessional. I still love that band. Actually, just saw them not long ago in Nashville. And everything was just like a cute, young love, and everything's so intense. And as I'm getting a little older, those feelings change, and they're a little more like a dull ache. And that was kind of the ethos of that song. Is this, the story of the song is basically a guy who, his wife goes out and has a good time at a concert, and too good of a time, and that ends their marriage. And so I wanted to kind of convey that sense of like, I didn't really expect better. And I think that's like a sad but real part of getting a little older.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you saying that. That song I'm real thrilled with. Some people don't love the singer-songwriter thing, right? But to me, that's the true test of a songwriter, right? If I can tell you a story with just my acoustic, and it means something, then I've accomplished something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I definitely think you did with that song, and it definitely was one of those songs where I think that if you've been through, and I can speak from experience because I've been through a divorce, not a breakup, a divorce, which is a very different thing. As you're older, as you're more mature, as you're looking at, oh my gosh, my life has taken a weird turn here. The feelings and the emotions in that song, they percolate. I can feel them, right? And I just really enjoyed that song. It stood out to me amongst the catalog. There were obviously several really good songs out there, but
I appreciate
like
that one. That means a lot.
Speaking of, we should take a break and listen to a little bit of that song as we go to break. And then when we come back, we'll get a little bit more into how in the heck you got to be a singer-songwriter here in the old Kentucky. So let's listen to Get On With It. Stay tuned. This is Roots Music Rambler.
Tell me where you've been now, baby. Tell me who you're with. Nothing good ever happens when you're out past 1 a.m. Said you caught a set downtown, went to see a show, but I ain't heard from you, and you turned off your phone. I ain't gonna cry for you.
Hi, I'm here to pick up my son Milo.
There's no Milo here.
Who picked up my son from school?
Streaming only on Peacock.
I'm gonna need the name of everyone that could have a connection.
You don't understand. It was just the 5 of us.
So this was all planned.
What are you gonna do? I will do whatever it takes to get my son back.
I honestly didn't see this coming. These nice people killing each other.
All Her Fault. A new series streaming now only on Peacock.
Can't have your flowers without any rain. beside me wherever I go.
That song's called Ashes. It is by Taylor Lansdale, who joins us on Roots Music Rambler. Taylor is a singer-songwriter based in Lexington, Kentucky, from a little town called Mount Sterling, not too far from there. We've been talking about his songs and his path. So you grew up in Mount Sterling, Kentucky. When and where in your life did music, like, do you remember music being, ooh, this is a thing, I want to do this?
So music was kind of, it's interesting. It was always around my family. Like my grandmother could play piano a little bit. And my mom, though I would never have let her know that when she was singing along, when she was singing in the car, had a great voice. But it was never, and I sang in church and stuff, and I did, I always just kind of dabbled, I'd sing in church, and I did some musicals in high school, really just to chase girls. And my 1 in 11 awful football team was always much more important to me. And then I've tried in kind of fits and starts to learn guitar my whole life. And then really it was just like, I guess 3 or 4 years ago, I kind of went through a rough patch, and we crash landed here in Lexington. And I thought, man, I need something that's just for me, like my life's become about my kids and my wife and my job, and that's awesome. But as soon as I learned how to play 3 or 4 chords, songs started coming. And in fact, I wrote a couple of songs before I learned any covers.
Wow.
And so it's kind of gone from there. I had a friend who actually works at a rap studio. His name's Max Balestero, great guy. He's with a band called Deep Nurse Roots locally. And he was like, man, come record some of these songs. And I did, and they were pretty bad, the first couple. But then I put Moorhead out, and people actually listened to it.
Yeah.
And it kind of, I don't know, it kind of just scratched a little bit of a dream that I'd always kept in waiting. And so I've just kind of been after it ever since, and taken it real serious the last couple of years.
So you picked up guitar as an adult. That wasn't something that you were, doing in high school or anything.
I kind of always had one around. Like it's laughable. Like I think I got for Christmas, I got like a Walmart SG, but nobody got me an amp. So it's hard to learn guitar, And then I was on I guess actually in like 15, I did a long stint on active duty in the National Guard. I was out in Arizona, and I was a little bored on the weekends, so tried to play out there, and ended up with a cool guitar, but never really learned how to play.
Yeah.
So it happened when it was supposed to. I mean, I think if I'd have started writing songs when I was 23, 24, it'd have been nothing but just awful love songs. And so I needed to kind of live a little bit of life to finally have something to say. And then the universe kind of gave me the tools to start saying it, if that makes any sense.
That's awesome. So you go in and record a couple of these things at a friend's request. At what point was it then that you decided, I'm going to go do gigs, I'm going to try to get a record deal, I'm going to go out there and play this game and see what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's when people responded to Moorhead, and I didn't know what I was doing still, and I still don't in a lot of ways, but it kind of I allowed myself to start believing in myself, if that makes any sense. And so then I changed studios, went to Valwood Studios in Lexington, and those guys are great. We did a whole album that I put that out in February. It's called Headlong, over the course of a year, just weekend to weekend, whenever we could all make it work. And then, yeah, in the middle of that, I realized, like, I put Moorhead out actually, and maybe this doesn't speak well of me, but I had put it out before I'd ever played it live. And I felt all sorts of imposter syndrome, and, because I in this world of like AI generated nonsense, right? Like I don't want to be the worst thing I could be is inauthentic. So then I rushed down to Rebel and Berea and played their open mics a couple times. And then it's just been nonstop from there, playing when I'm trying to get as many gigs as I can. And we just put this new EP out, and then I'm working on a new EP with 2 of my favorite bands, which is just blowing my mind. So it's awesome, man. And I hope that these good things keep falling into my lap.
Well, I can't imagine that they won't, because what you've been putting out there is actually really, really good stuff. So
I appreciate that.
Tell me about the bands you're working with. If they're your two favorite bands, we need to know about them.
All right. So there's a band called Deer Tick who's been around for a long, long time. That's truly my wife's favorite band, in my top 2 or 3. And I saw Abby Hamilton open for them in Boston, kind of just as a coincidence. And Abby and her band's got a guy named Carson Childers, and he's maybe the best live bassist I've ever seen, just big energy. And so I ended up working with him on this, and he's producing this new EP, and he knows those guys, and he reached out to the guitarist, Nealon was like, "Hey, will you play on this?" And I was like, he's not gonna say yes, but that's cool. And then it was like, well, he's going to say yes. And then I'm sitting in a room listening to him play all my songs. It was like, he was looking for feedback, and all I could come up with was like, "That's great." It was, I was just, oh, this is so good. But implicit in that is that I love Abby Hamilton. I think she's, I think she's probably pound for pound the best songwriter going locally. And so her band's great. Carson and her brother Zach, and both of those guys are playing on this too. So it's a lot of like, they say don't meet your heroes, but I'm really enjoying meeting my heroes because they all seem to be good folks, and having them lend their talent to my songs is incredible.
That's another high compliment to your songs and your songwriting. That's good stuff. I think Deer Tick, if I'm not mistaken, they opened for the Truckers recently, didn't they?
Oh, I saw them down at the Caverns.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's just a good show. I love Drive By Truckers, and obviously they produced Isbell, and I think, in terms of telling the rural story, that lineage is as good as it gets. And then to have Deer Tick, who's, they can tell a good story too, but they're just a great drinking band. And I say that with like all the love in my heart, like that. I always have a good time when we see them or when we listen to them. So
that's good stuff. Yeah. We've talked about Francesca and I are both huge Drive By Trucker fans, and we've talked about, Patterson Hood's, the thing that I love about him so much that really connected me to him was his whole thing about the duality of the South, right? Where, there's a lot in the South, and especially for me in Eastern Kentucky, there's a lot to be ashamed of, but there's an awful lot to be super proud of too. And it's hard to sometimes balance that. And that's one of the things I love about, their music, and love about his songwriting, and Cooley's songwriting too. But yeah, we're big Drive-By fans here on the old program for sure.
That's where I'm in good company then. Have you read that book? What is the book about them? This is bad. Anyways, I picked it up at the Atlanta airport and read it in like 3 hours, but it's worth a look. It's, if you want to know the kind of the gory details, and it certainly made me love them more. So worth a read.
Would be Where the Devil Don't Stay.
Yes,
Traveling the South with the Drive By Truckers.
So good.
So good. Worth Stephen Duncer, I think, or Dancer.
Yeah, I don't know that I've read any of his stuff. That's kind of my other hobby, is reading music books and memoirs and stuff like that. But it was a good one. I mean, the key takeaway is that you just don't mess with Mike Cooley. Like you.
I don't think I would anyway.
He's got that vibe anyways.
Yeah.
But that was reinforced in that song.
Yeah. My girlfriend and I went to see him play a gig here in Louisville at the Whirling Tiger a couple of years ago.
Oh my gosh.
As we were approaching the venue, I look up and I see this guy pulling a box of T-shirts out of the back of a car. And as he stands up and turns around, it's Cooley getting his merch out. And I said, "Hey, it's Mike Cooley." And he was like, "Hey guys, thanks for coming." And he just walks in like he's just like, "I'm working, don't bother me." I mean, he was nice. He was perfectly pleasant, but he's not gonna, unless it's after the show, which I think he's a little bit more personable after a show, but like I'm working here. So I don't think I'd mess with him anyway.
I could wax poetic for an hour on that. So I love that band, and I wish I could sound more like them. And I'm so tickled that a lot of there's a younger crowd of bands who clearly draw some influence or are having a good time right now, like MJ Linderman. His stuff's great. And then Wednesday, which is a band he's in, but is another thing. They just put an album out like a couple, not today, recently. And it's great too. And it's just, it's like weird small town rock and roll.
Yeah.
And I love that so much.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Well, I mean, you've tapped into a couple here, Linderman and Wednesday. I saw you at Bourbon and Beyond recently. Who have you seen lately? Who are you listening to lately that you like?
Oh man. So I'm actually back into a pretty big John Prine phase right now. I'm trying to circle back and be a better steward of there are so many artists, but our influence is actually kind of narrow when we get to the top. And so going back and honoring those folks, I just recently played excuse me, I'm over here drinking a Diet Coke like a real redneck. I just played a Townes Van Zandt tribute down at the Grove. And I didn't know much about him. I kind of knew the songs that I'm supposed to know, and so diving back into his catalog has been really good. So big fan. And post Bourbon and Beyond, I went back and listened to Jack White because that set blew.
He was great.
Lord.
He was so good.
I love Sturgill Simpson. Like there are very few people in this world who love Sturgill Simpson like I am. But if I were Sturgill Simpson, I'd be like, man, I have to follow that. Like,
Yeah.
He's one of the biggest acts in the world, but and he obviously was great.
Yeah.
But Jack White's just his own thing.
Yeah. I've seen him twice and I'm not huge into Jack White music. Like I don't go out and buy all his records. I like his stuff plenty. I hear it plenty, but I don't necessarily go out and collect Jack White stuff. I've seen him play twice at festivals, and both times you're just sitting there with your face blown off. It's just amazing. He's good.
It's an experience worth having. And I've seen the Raconteurs, which is his more of a band situation, and they're great. But Jack White by himself is entirely its own thing. And that was just a good day. Anyways, 49 Winchester was great. I love that band. Yep. I don't know how they're not a bigger deal than they are. Yeah. I can't think of a better, outside of Sturgill, I can't think of a lot better country band right now.
Yeah, I've seen 49 a few times and love those guys. They're from closer to Pikeville than most people realize. So they're just across the mountain over there in Castlewood, Virginia, and I've seen them play a couple times. And I kind of agree with you. If you're looking for a band, in my opinion, that's out there right now, that's a great sort of country rock mix, kind of a southern rock band, really good songs, really good songwriting. They're gonna make you get up and dance your ass off, and they're fun. You might throw a Silverado out there, a Blackberry Smoke out there, but 49 Winchester's in that conversation, and all three of those bands I think should be bigger than they are. But
gosh, you're speaking my love language. I really wanted to go to, and if I had to like circle the festival that I would want to play. And I would no shit, I would sell my guitars if I could play it, would be Ma Zero. Because that always has the cream of the crop in terms of that sound, the country rock Americana thing.
Yeah.
A Silverado, which for those playing along at home used to be Mike and the Moon Pies. They've been playing it forever. I think they've got Stephen Wilson Jr. is going to play this year, which would be a great ad. I think he's a really interesting songwriter.
Yep.
So yeah, and I'm I have probably a disproportionate fandom of some of the Red Dirt stuff too.
Yeah.
And so Turnpike and folks like that. So anyways.
Yeah. Turnpike's playing in my hometown here in a few weeks, and I'm half tempted to go home just for that.
We're flirting with it too. I mean, that's what my wife and I, we actually just celebrated our 7-year anniversary.
Oh,
so
congratulations.
Happy anniversary, Tess.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's kind of our home base is concerts and festivals and stuff like that. And so, I'd love to get, the only time that I've been down to that venue, I'm assuming they're playing at the big convention center down there, or whatever.
Appalachian Wireless Arena.
Appalachian Wireless. I saw Tyler there during that New Year's run. And that was when he did Notes to the Grindstone. I don't know. That's the closest I've been to experiencing like a musical out of body experience.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, again, kind of my in betweenness. Like I don't come from a lineage of coal miners or anything like that. We're cattle farmers, but boy, those people singing along sure did.
Oh yeah, they did. Well, if you and I'll admit this, and I've only admitted this to a couple people, although a few people have witnessed it. Obviously, Nose at the Grindstone starts out with Daddy Blue at his back, mine and Pike County coal. So it's a very, very hometown song for the Pikeville area. The other one is I Will Follow You to Virgie. And Virgie's a little community in Pike County. And that song is one of maybe 3 songs in existence on the planet that every time I hear it, I bawl like a baby. And
dude,
the reason I do though, is because when I was 15 years old, one of my really good friends, unfortunately took his own life, and his funeral was at Virgie. And so I had to go on this like caravan of people to Virgie to this funeral, and experience that. It was one of the first times I really experienced, death in that way. Someone who was a peer, not necessarily. I had a friend of mine who died in an accident earlier than that, but neither here nor there. That was the first time I'd ever dealt with something so crazy. And so that song makes me think of that. And then also makes me think of my mother, who is 75 and getting old. And I'm like, oh man, I'm going to have to deal with that at some point.
Right.
And so it's just, he gets to that first chorus and I'm just tears, just waterworks everywhere.
Oh man.
And it was kind of funny. I went to see Tyler in Chicago with my girlfriend Karen and my co-host Francesca and her husband Tom. And he started playing that song, and I just sat down because I was like, everybody's standing up. I'm just going to sit down because I'm going to be embarrassed if everybody sees me crying, but I had to just unloaded it. But
we've all got those, man. I will tell you, because music's obviously disproportionately important to me. And I actually created something like that for myself in that when my son Fisher came to the world, so when my daughter was born, I was such a wreck. I don't recall some of it, but second chance around, I was like, I'm going to do some like memorable stuff. And so, they hand him to me. This is kind of my first moment, at this point, mom's trying to get some sleep and it's just me. And I was like, what is going to be his first song? And it was Outfit.
There you go.
And I, that had always been an important song to me, but now I have that reaction. Which I listen to that song I cover that song quite a bit. So that was, man, that's the beauty of this whole thing.
Oh yeah.
And as a songwriter, man, if you can create something like that for somebody, that's the dream among dreams.
That's it.
So.
That makes it all worth it, regardless of how much money you make off of it, I guess.
That's right. That's right.
Out the first time I was a latecomer to Jason Isbell, and the Drive-By Truckers. I didn't really get into them until probably the last 6 or 7 years. There's a long explanation why, and it doesn't really matter, but I missed a big chunk of music for about 10, 15 years. I didn't pay attention to music at all. And then when I came back to it, I dove in head first. When I first came across Outfit, the very first person that I sent the song to listen to was my son, Grant, who at the time was probably 17 or 18 years old. He's 20 now. And my daughter even told him, you need to listen to that song Dad sent you because you just need to listen to it. So he did. So it's good. Love that song.
It's a great one, man. It's a great. We do. Like I said, it seems like we have very similar tastes.
I think we do. I'm old enough to be your dad probably, but beyond that, we've got some commonalities in there that are fun. So. Well, Taylor, it's been great having you on the show, man. It's been a long time coming, and I'm glad to have you. And what I want to do is make a deal with you that we're going to have you back after you've headlined all these festivals and got a bunch of Grammys and all that shit. We're going to have you back on the show to brag about how we threw you out there before most people.
Hell yeah. I'll take that bet.
Right.
And I will, and I'll honor it, man. I really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun.
Well, we're going to go to break now. Stay tuned. The Pickin the Grinnin segment's coming up in just a segment. Francesca will be back for that. But we're going to go to break with, as we're recording this, the latest single, I believe, from Taylor Lansdale, and that is Dance With You. This is Roots Music Rambler.
Staring from across the room, hoping for a chance with you, drinking in some courage and trying to find the words that cut through. Honey, I could have it all wrong, but now they've started playing our song. Do you mind if I cut you? 'Cause I wanna dance with you.
Every story you love, every invention that moves you, every idea you wished was yours, all began as nothing. Just a blank page with a blinking cursor, asking a simple question. What do you see? Great ideas start on Mac. Find out more on apple.com/Mac.
How about that Taylor Lansdale? You got to get out and listen to those songs. Just a really good singer-songwriter. He's actually released a couple of videos on TikTok and Instagram recently where he's singing new songs that I don't think he's released yet. And he did one the other day about the song was about telling your kids you're getting a divorce, which hit me real hard because I've had to do that. And I mean, I was like, damn, dude, I'm not supposed to be crying at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday. What's wrong with you? He's just a really good songwriter and we really like him a lot. I hope you guys agree with that and go out and download his music and all that good stuff. Taylor Lansdale. Good stuff.
Excellent. Excellent stuff.
It is time for our Pickin the Grinnin segment. This is the part of the program where Frank and I pick what's making us grin. It might be a song. It might be an artist. It might be a podcast. It could be a lot of different things, but it's what we've been listening to recently that's putting a smile on our face. And we're sharing it with you so that you can put smiles on your faces as well, assuming you need smiles on your faces, which we all do from time to time.
Who doesn't, right?
I'm going to go first because I just mentioned this word that's a little bit different. We haven't really talked about other podcasts a lot on this podcast. And we need to do a better job of that because there's lots of great podcasts out there. We're not the only ones. We're not competing against these people. You can listen to as many podcasts as you want. And I happen to have a buddy who I mentioned earlier. All this ties back together. I mentioned my buddy, Mark Murdoch, who is a big Ryan Adams fan. He's one of the people along with Karen who they keep talking to me about all the Ryan Adams stuff going on. But Mark Murdoch has, for a long, long time, co-hosted a podcast with our mutual friend, Brian Eichenberger. All three of us have been in radio at some point in time in our career. Brian spent a lot of years in radio. And I think that's where he met Mark. But years ago, they started a podcast that was called the Ice Cream Headache Podcast. And they were just experimenting, telling stories, having fun. And that show went for probably 10 or 12 years and was really good. Well, they repositioned and repurposed that show several years ago to a new podcast called the Rock and Roll Story Guys podcast. And so what they do in this show, which I find really fascinating, is they ask for input from their audience to say, is there a controversy, a rumor, something that you need confirmation from or validation or investigation into in the world of rock and roll? And then they take those suggestions from their audience and then they go research it. And they come back and they tell all these different stories that surfaced in their research to answer the question. So like, I think one person on a recent episode wrote in and said, I heard that Michael Jackson almost got cast in a Star Wars movie, but I can't find confirmation anywhere. So they go and do all this research about Michael Jackson's career and George Lucas. And did they meet? And was there ever an offer? And it's really freaking fascinating. Like I mean, these guys are my friends. And so not intentionally, but I just never really listened to their podcast. And then I was like, I wonder what these guys do on their podcast. I need to check this out. So I dialed up an episode a couple of weeks ago, and now I've gone through half of their catalog because I can't stop listening because it's just fascinating stuff. They do a lot of research, way more than we would ever do for this show. And we do a decent amount of research for our stuff, but I mean, they go deep and it's cool. And of course they're both funny as shit. So, and they're friends of mine. So the Rock and Roll Story Guys podcast has been making me grin a lot lately. So go listen to Brian and Murdoch on that show. And I think you'll enjoy it and report back and let me know if you do. And if you don't, let me know and I'll tell them because I can be honest with them. So there you go.
Okay. There you go. That's great.
All right, Frank, what you got?
Awesome. So I have a, I guess, traditional Pickin the Grinnin, a band. And as I was walking down the stairs in my house to the basement to come record this episode, I was not sure who or what my Pickin the Grinnin might be. And then I caught, I just happened to hear what my son Anthony was listening to as he's doing his homework. And it just made me smile because it's stuff that I was listening to. I was a little bit older than he is now when I was listening to this band. So it just, it made me grin. And that band is They Might Be Giants.
Oh, I love them.
Yeah. And, they've been around since like the early 80s. And I was listening to them in high school and college. And then, of course, since then, I'm not going to pretend that I know their whole catalog or anything like that. But the more popular songs like Istanbul and Birdhouse in Your Soul, those are always when those come on, like you don't switch the station, right? And my son's up there, he's got his phone and he's listening to They Might Be Giants as he's doing his homework, and he's kind of singing along, and of course he's my son, so he's super cute, and that was just totally cute, and it just it made me grin. And they're the kind of band that is just like it'd be hard to listen to them and not feel a little bit lighter or a little bit in a better mood. And if you don't know any of their like commercial radio songs, you probably know the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse theme song and the hot dog song from Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, because that is also They Might Be Giants.
That's right.
So they're well-rounded.
They are. I first came across They Might Be Giants, I think it was probably my sophomore, junior year in high school. And that was before Flood came out. Flood is their like major, huge album with, Istanbul is on that. Birdhouse in Your Soul is on that. Great album. And then I got that album when it first came out because that's got Particle Man and a couple other really good songs on it. And then I just got obsessed with them because I thought they were quirky and goofy. And you're right. They lighten the mood for you. They make it fun. They're probably a little too out in left field to be super mainstream. They're very much alternative, but they're really funny. And the two guys have a really interesting way of harmonizing, and they make really good poppy kind of fun songs. And so I went deep into their catalog. I went back and bought Lincoln. And then when Palindrome I came out, like I went all crazy and had several They Might Be Giants CDs once upon a time. And now I have all of those things on my vinyl wish list. I can't find them, but that might be Christmas presents for me. They Might Be Giants records. So good pick. Love it.
And I forgot to mention that I love that. I don't know, a genre or subgenre maybe, but they are described as geek rock.
Yes. Yeah.
And that warms my heart, one geek to another.
Yeah, it's definitely a nerd herd band for sure.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. They Might Be Giants. I love it. My favorite They Might Be Giants song, I don't know why, is also on Flood. It's called Minimum Wage. And all it is like a cowboy going, minimum wage. Yeah. And then there's this like, orchestral fade out. It's just bizarre, but fun.
Yes, very
all
bizarre.
Right. They Might Be Giants. And then you can go listen to the Rock and Roll Story Guys podcast. We'll make sure there's links to all that stuff in the show notes at rootsmusicrambler.com. And I guess that's going to wrap it up. Roots Music Rambler is a production of Folsom Partners, copyright 2025. Our theme music is Sheepskin and Beeswax by Courtroom. Join us online at rootsmusicrambler.com and make sure you mash that subscribe or follow button so you remember to join us for the next hoedown and throwdown. She's Frank.
And he's Falls.
And whatever you do, kids, ramble on.